Okay, so it's now time for me to bring to you Sports Cruise on the Our Media channel, your favorite sports podcast on YouTube. My name is Josiah. Now, over the weekend, there was quite a lot of action. So we'll be talking about the title race in the Laliga. But then in England, Manchester United keep on upsetting the big club. So they held Arsenal to a 1-1 draw, and Chelsea managed to get themselves a 1-0 win over Leicester City. But in that game, something quite unusual happened. Guess what? You know, Cole Palmer has to be one of the best penalty takers in the history of the Premier League. But unfortunately, for the first time in his Premier League career, Cole Palmer missed the penalty. But it's all about what Enzo Maresca had to say after Cole Palmer had missed the penalty. I think there's quite a lot. He mentioned the fact that Cole Palmer was ill and he forced to play and all that. We'll be talking about that. And then also, Mo Salah won't stop scoring for Liverpool. Over the weekend, he managed to score twice in Liverpool's 3-1 win over Southampton, taking his tally to 27 for the season. Quite some staggering and remarkable numbers for the Egyptian king. But we'll also be looking at the records he could be breaking, because now he outrightly holds the record for the most goal involvement for Liverpool in Premier League history. That's quite some remarkable feat. But for Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, it's still the same old story. So it looks like they are not back. They never bounced back because they lost at the City ground to Nottingham Forest. So there's quite a lot we'll be talking about on this episode of the Sports Cruise with me, Josiah. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like I always tell you to. And then also, you can also make your voice very, very loud on the show, because subsequently I'll be reading some of the messages you drop or the comments you drop in our comment section. You can also follow us across the various social media handles. It's Our Media on X, on Facebook, and then also on IG, that's Instagram. So you can catch up with all the latest from the world of sports. But let's start off with the Premier League. Let's talk a bit about the Premier League. Let's start off with that game at the Old Trafford where Manchester United held Arsenal to a 1-0 draw. So it was actually a game you'd be thinking that, Arsenal should actually win, because in the reverse fixture, Arsenal were 2-0 winners over Manchester United. Now, coming into the game, we all know that Arsenal have got lots of injury concerns. The likes of Bukayo Saka not fit. They still have Gabriel Jesus on the sidelines, and then Kai Havertz. So Mikel Merino was forced to play as a false nine again, and then also Nathan Nwaneri also being deployed as a right winger. And in a game where Manchester United, you'll be thinking they've not really been good. At the last win they had in the last 5 or 6 weeks in the Premier League was that 3-2 win over Ipswich at home, but they managed to get them their noses in front through a brilliant Bruno Fernandes free kick. It's one of the best free kicks I've seen in recent times. So United took the lead, and you'd be thinking that they could go all out, and win it, at least cause an upset, because Liverpool keep on opening the gap at the top of the table, and Arsenal keep on dashing or giving away points. So it took Declan Rice to also equalize for Arsenal, making it 1-1. And after 90 minutes, Ruben Amorim seemed quite excited about the result. Yeah, it's a positive one, because you look at Manchester United this season and how they've lost so many games. Even at home, they were losing to the likes of Palace and Co. Tottenham Hotspur has beat them. They've not really been good. So, to get a 1-1 draw against Arsenal was quite a positive result. But for me, my take from that game has to do with the performance by Bruno Fernandes. Captain, fantastic. He's been brilliant for Manchester United. Even in the midst of all this poor performances, results not going their way, he's always managed to find a way to be the standout performer for them week in, week out. He knows how to get the job done. And this time around, he also manages to get a goal. He scored in the previous week for Manchester United, and then he manages to score again. It was quite a good game for me, but I just feel Arsenal are just the biggest losers in this game. It was a game that was there for the taking. Yes, you talk about their injury concerns and all that, but then they should be beating Manchester United. That's the time that they should be getting the better of Manchester United, especially when United are not playing, so well. They've not really been convincing. I just feel Arsenal should have won it. And now, after that draw, it means that Liverpool have opened up a 15-point gap between themselves and Arsenal. And now, you can also say Arsenal have got a game in hand, but I just don't see how Arsenal can just, overturn this deficit. It looks too huge for me. That's equivalent to 4 wins for Arsenal and then 4 defeats for Liverpool. I just don't know. But if you're an Arsenal fan, then you should just know that for the 3rd season running, the title is going to slip through your fingers. Arsenal have been poor. For me, I've branded them as a joke of a club. They are not really serious. But to the Anfield, it was Liverpool against Southampton. So Southampton actually caused, some panic. They actually, made Liverpool sweat at some point in the game after Small Bone, scored a goal. It was a highlight. I think it was a defensive blunder, from Alisson. He could have done better over there. But then Southampton getting their noses in front is not really new, for this club, because we've seen them take the lead in games where they've ended up relinquishing those leads. And it's Liverpool at the Anfield. So you were not thinking that Southampton could have won or walked away with all 3 points. Yes, there was a possibility they could. But then once you have the likes of Mo Salah still, in the form of their lives, then it was always going to be difficult for them. But it was a lovely, solo run from Diaz to set up Darwin Núñez to get an equalizer. And then, some dubious calls. I term them dubious calls because those were not penalties for me, honestly. The tackle on Darwin Núñez, I feel it wasn't a penalty. And then the other handball incident, quite dubious. Yeah, I know Southampton fans will be raving. They'll be irked and peeved that, such petty decisions didn't go their way or just had to go against them. But for Liverpool, they'll take it. And Mohamed Salah now has overtaken Sergio Aguero, for an outright record. So he's now the top scoring foreigner in the history of the Premier League. This guy, I don't know, I keep scratching my head, but I don't know how he ends up racking such, incredible numbers. And you look at his goals and assists so far, 27 goals, 17 assists. That's 44 in just 29 games. It's incredible to think that, Mo Salah could end up with such numbers, especially when he's into the last, month of his Liverpool contract. It looks crazy for me, but that's Mo Salah we are talking about. He's cementing his place as one of the greatest ever to play in the history of the Premier League. So Liverpool getting a 3-1 win over Southampton takes them 15 points. On top of the Premier League is quite phenomenal. But Manchester City, again, I don't know what you make of the City, performance, but it was awful. It was shambolic for me. Jeremy Doku completing as many as 7 dribbles on the afternoon, but unfortunately that wasn't enough to see City, create enough to win the game. And in that game, it looked like, Nottingham Forest were so solid defensively. They just didn't, allow Manchester City to take the game to them. So they managed to create some decent chances, in the game. And then they had to wait until the 80th minute onwards to strike through Callum Hudson-Odoi. It was a lovely goal he scored. And this guy, I don't know, but it looks like I doubt he would ever get an England call-up. And it looks like Ghana or the Black Stars are also waiting for this guy. Because some time back, I think during the summer, he was in Ghana, having fun and all that. But at this point, with his performances, yeah, perhaps it could warrant him a call-up to the English national team. But anything aside that, I feel Callum Hudson-Odoi should really prep his mind and think of playing for the Black Stars of Ghana, especially if Ghana should qualify to the World Cup 2026 in the US, Mexico, and Canada. This guy should think about, playing for Ghana. He was great for them. Anthony Elanga was, all over the place. Another top performance. But Chris Wood went missing. It was quite shocking that Chris Wood just couldn't, do enough over there. But Nottingham Forest getting themselves a win. It means that they are 4 points ahead of Manchester City in the title race. It was quite, a good game for them. Now, Chelsea were also in action over the weekend against Leicester City. And the game was actually, marked by so many unusual things. So one of the things has to do with Cole Palmer missing a penalty in the first half of that game. So prior to that, Cole Palmer has scored the last 12 penalties he's taken in the Premier League. And that's the longest active run of any player in the Premier League. So he scored 12 out of 12. He had a 100% record with penalties. And then there was a penalty. Then Cole Palmer steps up, then misses. So it was the Leicester City goalkeeper that made a brilliant save. But after the game, it was Enzo Maresca speaking after the game, and he was asked about the fact that, Cole Palmer hasn't really been in top shape in recent times. He's really, missed some glorious chances as well as missing a penalty, something he's never, ever done in the history of his Premier League career. But he also went on ahead to say that the player hasn't trained for 48 hours. So it actually makes sense why he has to miss a penalty. But Cole Palmer came to him to tell him that he still wants to help Chelsea qualify for the UEFA Champions League. So that's what Cole Palmer said, and Enzo Maresca couldn't say no to by far his best player in the squad. So Cole Palmer went ahead, played in the game, but unfortunately he had to be sacked even before the 75th minute because he was having a very torrid time, and that was what happened. But Chelsea still, cruising to a 1-0 win over Leicester, sees them back into the top four for the first time in over 3-4 game weeks. It's quite good for them because their hunt for a Champions League place is still alive after that win. Yeah, it was a 1-0 win. For me, I thought they could have scored more. Looking at the chances they created on the day, they created some decent chances. Enzo Maresca coming close to scoring, doubling Chelsea's lead, but unfortunately, it just couldn't work out for them. Now let's go to Spain. Barcelona's game was cancelled. I don't know what actually happened, but that game was cut off. So you can also, maybe give us some reasons. But I feel the game was cancelled, and Atletico Madrid also in their game against Getafe, you'll be thinking we're cruising to a 1-0 victory until there was a red card for Angel Correa in the 87th minute or so, and that was a turnaround for Getafe. Coming from a goal down to win by 2-1, and it means that Atletico Madrid, as far as the title race is concerned, because a win for them would have seen them leapfrog Barcelona to top spot in the Laliga, but unfortunately they ended up dropping points, which we've not really seen in recent times, Atletico Madrid. So they still had that UEFA Champions League second leg game against Madrid, in mind. But they fielded a very strong squad. The likes of Julian Alvarez and Griezmann all featuring in that squad. But unfortunately, they just couldn't win. But Real Madrid, they just got it done. So simple for them against Rayo Vallecano, taking a 2-0 lead through Kylian Mbappe and then also Vinicius Jr. But Rayo Vallecano would equalize, or they would just pull one back right at the stroke of halftime. But that was just the best they could do as Real Madrid cruised to a 2-1 victory. So it's getting even more interesting in the La Liga, with Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, and then Barcelona all in the hunt, for the title. So it's not even about top four, but it's the race to win the La Liga title. So who do you have? Who do you have your money on to win the 2024-25 La Liga title? Is it Barcelona, is it Real Madrid, or are you going for Atletico de Madrid?